Hey guys, Crypto Sunday, and probably slightly longer video this week because there's an awful lot going on. It's a green week. I'm up just over 20,000 on the week, which is very, very nice. Spread around quite a lot of coins. Well, I will come back to the portfolio because there is rather a lot of news. So the EU were putting a sort of broad crypto regulation bill through, and this had I mentioned before, this had a sort of potential ban on proof of work coins. So Bitcoin being sort of the largest one, of course, but a lot of smaller coins use proof of work as well. And they were sort of seeking to ban proof of work, but that regulation has been sort of unanimously passed without that section. So this has been seen as sort of broadly positive. You can have a read through sort of the more details on it. The Markets in Crypto Assets regulatory package. But yeah, this is sort of seen as fairly positive. So just a little quick fire news. I sort of mentioned yesterday about Argo blockchain that some of the energy companies are sort of getting into mining. I sort of mentioned before their sort of gas and shale, or the sort of shale operations produce gas, and a lot of this gets wasted, essentially. They only actually get about 90% of it through to households. So 10% is just burnt anyway because they have to, and it's wasted. So they are now looking to, or they have been on a pilot program mining Bitcoin with it, and it's been going quite well. They're talking about sort of expanding this to 4 countries. So that would be rather sort of positive news, I guess, if more people are getting into it. But obviously this sort of increases hash rate and increases the difficulty. So sort of companies like Hive and Argo blockchain that I've got will mine sort of less Bitcoin over time for the hash rate that they've got. So yeah, hopefully they're sort of offset by a rise in the price by sort of these big companies wanting to get into it. So interesting one, I thought. It does then sort of lead on to miner concentration. You've now got America sort of they were taking up about 36% of global mining back in August, and it's reportedly topped 50%, sort of really about in Christmas time. So with sort of more facilities being set up this year, would expect that to be sort of pushing 55, maybe 60% this year. So a lot of people are sort of seeing that as we're back to sort of centralisation, but are sort of saying if there's one country that we want it to be, if it had to be centralised in, you'd want that to be North America at the moment, sort of being very stable, or fairly stable country. Each state has their own sort of rules, so they're sort of saying it's very difficult to impose sort of a nationwide ban on it, and they don't sort of seem interested in that. They like the investment in the US, but you also have sort of, as you say, companies like ExxonMobil expanding sort of across the world with their shale oil mining. Not that would sort of last forever, I guess. Probably the intention is still to sort of use that to mine Bitcoin while reinvesting the money into renewables. So that would sort of decrease over time because it would be classed as dirty mining. So interesting. US is now the biggest. And finally, this is a very interesting one. Terra, which I don't sort of talk about too much. It's a sort of altcoin that I haven't looked into all that much, but they sort of have a stable coin as part of their sort of platform, and they've been buying Bitcoin, and they plan to buy an awful lot of Bitcoin. So they've been buying $125 million worth of Bitcoin a day, and they plan to over the next 3 months, for a total of sort of $10 to $11 billion. So currently they have about $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, and some people are sort of linking this to the recent price move up. They also have $1.6 billion in Tether and $1 billion in UST, which is their stable coin, as sort of part of their reserves. But they're saying they can make some adjustments to the protocol, which I haven't really looked into that much, but they're saying it will free up $10 billion over the next sort of 3 months, including what they've already got to be able to buy Bitcoin. And so by the end of June, I guess, they will end up with $10 billion in Bitcoin and basically no stable coin reserves. But sort of obviously that's putting a hell of a lot of sort of pressure on the supply, really. That is, so MicroStrategy, I think, own about 7 billion in Bitcoin, 125,000 Bitcoin, and sort of they're saying obviously if the price were to stay where it is today, and they sort of buy $10 billion worth of Bitcoin, they would end up with about 250,000. So that would make them sort of probably the largest institutional holder in the world. But if they do end up buying that, there's very little chance the price would stay where it is. So, yeah, very interesting. I mean, you had Tesla last year sort of put 1.5 billion in, and that sort of had a huge effect. So I would guess this is what is causing the rise in price. So interesting one. If they carry on, see what happens over sort of the next 3 months. Could be a very bullish quarter 2. So looking at the portfolio, so Bitcoin up 6.5% for the week. Pretty good. Just sort of looking at the graph, it's just one way up. So that's very nice. Ethereum sort of pretty much followed suit. Cardano, though, has had a very good week. Fairly steady rise. So along with Solana has also done reasonably well, 12%. There is news that Grayscale, they sort of do the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, which is rather large, but they've set up a sort of Grayscale smart contract fund without Ethereum. So a little bit complicated. It's basically excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum, and it's sort of the large sort of layer 1 platform smart contract tokens. So your sort of Cardano, Solana, Avalanche, that sort of thing. But yeah, the sort of two largest positions by a fair way are Cardano and Solana. So they've sort of seen a little bump up. Not sure whether it's entirely because of that or even partly because of that, but certainly good news. OMG network 4% green, Power Ledger 8%, so not too bad. A lot of these sort of, I would think, just rumbling around. Sort of Bitcoin up 7%, so they're all going to be broadly with that. XRP, Ripple 3%, Basic Tension Token 5%, Internet Computer still sort of doing nicely, 12%. I was buying this sort of in the lows and have stopped now. I haven't bought anything this week. Stellar 10% up, Crow 10% up, Audius flat, but this has sort of had a large bullish move up in the previous week, so that's pretty good that it's sort of roughly holding that. Still really like the sort of music NFT space, so that's good. Litecoin, 8%. I'm sort of still watching for a sort of reasonable move on this to maybe get out and move it into probably some more bullish coins, possibly Solana, and Quant Stamp, 45% up on the week, so it did go a lot higher. I was considering selling it off, went to about £2,000 in total, but it's still a hell of a lot down from their sort of highs. I think it's got to about sort of 70p or something in the last year, or last 2 years rather. Oh, they're not showing it here, but yeah, it's been a lot higher before. So yeah, they're doing sort of audits, cybersecurity audits, and sort of an ongoing cybersecurity service with some sort of fairly large clients. They've sort of done Toyota, the Solana network itself, crypto.com, sort of various companies really, and it's a very sort of small market cap, £37 million. So it's number 461 on the list. So I don't normally sort of hold a great deal outside of the top 100. It was just this and Cocos, which I have sold off. Decided to sort of take profits on that. It sort of had a reasonable move up, and sort of checking the Twitter and sort of activity on it, it seemed like basically nothing's happened for a little while, and it's a very small coin, so I just thought I'd take profit on that and move elsewhere. Boba Network flat for the week, a little bit strange. Anchor 12% and Band 12%. So yeah, well, overall can't complain at this. We'll see where we go in the next few weeks. See what this Terra news is going to bring. Presumably more of a steady rise because they're buying every day. So yeah, leave your thoughts in comments below and like and subscribe. See you soon.